Now, our next session is going to be a panel. So let me introduce very quickly our great panel that we have today. So we first have Juho Sarvikas, who is the president of North America at Qualcomm. Juho, great to meet you.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yes. Next, we have Anshul Bhatt, who is the head of intelligent operations at Rakuten Mobile. Great to see you. And we also have Matthew Sanchez with us, who is the chief AI officer at Tecnotree. Welcome all.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. So we have a great conversation we've had, or what we've heard from our speakers so far, and the idea here is to continue the discussion. But before we do that, why don't we have a quick round of introductions if you guys want to add a little bit about the work you do and on AI and innovation.
Sounds great. Mind if I go first?
Yeah, go for it.
So my name is Juho Sarvikas, President of Qualcomm North America. At Qualcomm, we envision a world where everything and everyone can be intelligently connected. Our innovation in 5G and AI are the two fundamental enablers in delivering on this future of a connected, intelligent edge. I'm sure many in the room know us from our modem technology, where we're paving the way to 5G evolved and eventually 6G. But we're also very much involved in the infrastructure side, like my good friend Anshul from Rakuten here would know. So O-RAN is very close to heart. And for us, it's really about making the devices smarter and making the network smarter, and then enabling the crosstalk. We can talk about more of that during the discussions.
Yep, looking forward to hear that. Hey, everyone, I'm Anshul. I head the intelligent operations at Rakuten Mobile. And a couple of years ago, when we launched our network in Japan, our aim was to launch and operate the network at fraction of time and cost. So we couldn't just ignore the importance of AI and automation in this journey. So my mission and my team's mission basically was to make sure that we are able to operate this network with less than 200 people. And a lot of steps that we have taken towards enabling the AI-powered operations and use cases around that is something that I'm looking forward to discuss with you all here. So nice to be here and looking forward to the discussion. Over to you.
I'm Matt Sanchez. I lead data and AI for Tecnotree, which is a digital BSS provider based in Finland. We have about 90 operators in 70 countries that use our software, over 1 billion subscribers. Our mission with AI has really been to transform the way the more than 300 customer journeys we have on our platform work, and by bringing more automation, more personalization, more cost savings for the operators. And we've just begun that journey, but I think already seeing some tremendous outcomes. So,
thank you so much for being here today. So kicking off the conversation, I'd love to hear and kick off the discussion with your thoughts on where the next innovation wave in 5G is going to come from, and what role is AI going to play there? Juho, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, why not? So today we operate in a very statistical world, right? So we do have an overlay of AI or ML in the networks and on the device side, but there's really no crosstalk. What happens with 5G evolved is that now you introduce cross-node AI. So the device communicates effectively with the network, which I think is a single biggest transformational impact that we can do on the performance, latency, solving the capacity constraints. And then, of course, when we get to 6G, there's already a lot of work that's being done there across the ecosystem, the standards bodies, is that now you have a native, pervasive AI stack, if you will, all the way from device to the upper layers of the network.
Yeah, I mean,
love that we're already talking about 6G.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say. And in fact, I think at Rakuten Mobile, the way we approached this whole problem was that we broke down every single use case into like 4 parts: monitoring, analyzing, decision-making, and action orchestration, specifically from operations point of view. So autonomous monitoring is one use case that we are really big on, and we have already like implemented pretty much in most of the domains, the autonomous anomaly detection and stuff like that. Similarly, on the analyzing of the monitoring data, no longer, because of so many metrics across the platform layer, across the network functions, it was simply impossible to like define rules and monitor based on those. So like outlier-based config management versus like golden template-based traditional config management, things like that. And then in the end, we have this bunch of open APIs and automation libraries. So we pretty much know who is doing what in the network. So based on the monitoring data, based on actions people were taking using the APIs. So now we have this vision to reach towards the L4 autonomous networks, whereby since we know who is doing what, we can simply have the AI monitoring sort of all the monitoring actions and all the actions that people are taking manually today. And then we will arrive at a auto RCA and auto nest best action analysis. So that's where our focus is on going L4.
I hear a lot about L4 when it comes to cars and autonomous driving. This is the first reference to network. It's very
Yeah,
good.
that's our goal, yeah.
Yeah, I think we see sort of this increase in the number of services that operators are trying to offer, and even adjacent industries, healthcare, fintech, you name it. And with that comes the opportunity to drive even more personalization, and I think the necessity to do it, using all the available data. And I think with AI, it's really the only way to address that and manage it, along with building a consistent and dynamic data model that powers that, something we call profile of one that sits behind every interaction that a subscriber is having on the network. So that layer of personalization, I think, is really critical, and I think we have even more tools now to address that with generative AI and other technologies that are coming our way. So that's really where we've been spending a lot of our time.
Maybe drawing that a bit back to today from 6G and to the edge. So if you look at the Qualcomm Snapdragon modem RF system, the X70 that we announced a year ago, it featured the world's first dedicated AI processor in an SoC. So already now we have that intelligence where you can dynamically do adaptive antenna tuning as an example. So we're already deploying on network and on the device in isolation, but the next big thing really is that how do we link that to, and I think our partnership, for example, in the O-RAN space will be a fundamental enabler for that.
That's really great to hear. So we talked about use cases, we talked a little bit about current and then the future roadmap, going up into 6G. And we're remiss to not talk about generative AI when we think a little bit about that kind of path forward. Gen AI has become one of the hottest topics and trends here. Would love to hear how you guys are thinking about that in your business and when it comes to 5G innovation.
Yeah, so I think I'd start in terms of how we're seeing it. Generative AI, I think, creates a fundamental shift in the way we think about AI and ML use cases, if you will. I think it causes us to look at patterns of use more than specific narrow use cases. I've been working in the AI ML space for over a decade in different form factors. And in typical pattern, there's a very well-established way you do data science and build models. But with generative AI, it actually gives us the opportunity to take a little bit of a different approach. I think it drives the product innovation cycle much faster. It allows us to bring things to market faster, to build adaptive systems faster.
Yeah.
And this is really going to change and impact the way that everything is done, from how we develop software, how we develop the networks, how we configure devices, the signals that we're getting and how we can adapt systems in real time. All of this now, I think, has a different way, a different approach. These are not new problems, but the technology has evolved to the point where we can contextualize much faster and we can adapt and learn much faster. And because of that, I think it changes the way we think about how we approach different types of problems, AI types of problems. So I think that's going to have a fundamental impact on the industry. And I think we'll see a rapid kind of innovation cycle with that in terms of new products, new services, and new capabilities that we can roll out.
Jonas mentioned in his presentation that the models in Azure, you're now at 200 billion plus parameters, right? So it's mind-blowing in terms of the complexity and how quickly the models have getting more and more sophisticated and grown in scale. Today, if you look at the edge, like if you pick a Samsung Galaxy S23, we're already running models that are in the 10 billion parameter range. So I think another interesting aspect of the discussion will be is that will there be a token exchange between the edge and the cloud, or how does that work? Because like some use cases, whether it's privacy or security or just like latency driven, you do want to run on the edge, right? But then there's limitations to compute power that you can hold in your hand.
And I think to that point, when you think about pushing models onto the device, there's cases where these larger parameter, the 240 billion parameter models, are very general and can do lots of things, but you can also find smaller things that you can do with smaller models that are even better tuned to that specific purpose. So we have a wide spectrum of possibility in terms of where these models live, where the data continues to live. And in pretty much every industry, always talk about moving compute and models closer to the data. And I think when telco, that becomes, we take that to the extreme. I mean, there's the diversity of devices and everything that we have to deal with. So I think a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, and even from the operator standpoint at Rakuten Mobile, across our customers, our own network, and even partners, Gen AI is bringing so many opportunities. For example, how can we help our customers to solve their issues better without reaching out to customer care for every little thing? Or more interestingly, one of my favorites is on the NOC operators and engineers, right? So now we can actually reskill the NOC engineers whereby they can simply write a code to automate or something using Gen AI instead of having that knowledge, which typically telecom industry, NOC guys, although they are very experienced in network domain, but they don't really have much experience on programming. So Gen AI is solving that. And even for our partners, like if you want to write an R app on a Rakuten platform, just go there and simply using our libraries and APIs, the Gen AI can actually help you write an R app on our platform. So it's opening up a lot of opportunities with ORAN and open platforms. With Gen AI, I think there will be a lot of innovation in terms of use cases.
No, and that's really well put. And I think, Juho, you started touching on this a little bit. As we talk more and more about these Gen AI capabilities and more AI at scale, the question is going to keep coming back to the edge intelligence point that you brought up. So I'd love to get kind of your thoughts, especially with Qualcomm being kind of at the center of the action. How are you guys thinking about this, this move and trend as we think about computation moving and processing moving closer and closer to the point of consumption?
We've actually made a couple of highly relevant announcements. Or maybe if I take a step back, a year ago, we demonstrated 1 billion parameter stable diffusion running our hands. Some of you might have seen it in MWC Barcelona earlier in the year. So type language, get a picture out of it. Absolutely mind-blowing. Now we're at 7 billion parameters. And the key drivers, as I look at it, I mentioned privacy already. But then if you look at enterprise and government use cases, and I think it's fair to say that a lot of the economic value will be unlocked with enterprise-specific models running in the private cloud, right? So I think that's an area where privacy and running the model locally on the UE or at a hosted location that's colo more than the cloud will definitely be a key decision driver. The other thing is just like personalization, right? So your phone is with you, your PC is with you. You have contextual data on how it's used, what are your preferences. So now finally the value prop of your device knows you. So it becomes a reality, like in earnest, that actually happens. So and then what I would also highlight here is that from a use case standpoint of view, I do believe that productivity will be the primary driver. So if you think about it like an XR scenario where you simply verbally describe the world that you would like to experience and everything gets auto-generated for you, like that's fundamentally transformational.
Indeed.
Another good example would be on PC or on mobile. So you just describe the kind of presentation that you would like to show to your manager, and you get a 95% complete deliverable, and you get to look super smart. So I'm personally looking forward to that evolution as well.
And even from the cost effectiveness perspective, like there is so much data in the complexity and with 5G and beyond, right? So you can't really bring everything at the center and process it. So even on the observability front, the way we monitor stuff at Rakuten Mobile as well, a lot of AI and analytics has to be applied at the edge instead of, there is no bandwidth at transport layer to even get all the data. So it becomes all more important than ever.
Yeah, and I think with data, I think the other thing that's interesting with large language models and some of the other foundation models is that we don't have to be perfect format anymore with the data. We can actually describe the data in a more natural form. We don't have to spend as much time, particularly with context that we're injecting into these models. And so it gives us the opportunity to, again, experiment faster and actually skip a few steps that we would typically have to spend most of the time on and potentially have to refine the data, but not necessarily as the first step. And so I think it's changing the way we think about how we deploy these types of solutions.
Absolutely, and I think especially with Gen AI, when we think about it with unstructured data, that's, I think, an exhibit A of how that's happening. Really great to hear your thoughts on kind of this evolution path that we're on. For folks in the room today, when we think about this ecosystem and this value chain, what might be some ways for different businesses, companies to think about this evolution and challenges that they might want to plan for? And you guys are at the helm of this day in and day out, so would love to get your thoughts there.
Yeah, I mean, from challenges perspective, we have lived this journey for last couple of years. So I think there are two main categories. One is people and processes, and second is technology. I think technology is, I mean, as we all know, it's expanding like exponentially. But at the same time, if you enable people and processes around this approach is a key. For example, what we did in Rakuten is, in the beginning, we expected that, okay, we have this AI platform, please give us use cases. And every NOC engineer would have a use case in their mind, but it's not as easy as just go to NOC and ask them. So we embedded some of these ideas into the day-to-day processes like incident management, change management, and how we can effectively create a backlog of use cases. So I think creating a backlog is one challenge effectively. And then on technology front, how can we enable data scientists to actually be more prolific? It shouldn't take like months to put a model in production. So creating metadata discovery, enabling the platform, the APIs, and enable the discovery of the libraries is also very important for the data scientists to have a complete view and then apply AI on top of it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the challenges, I think, in the form of responsible AI and how we address that, it's becoming more and more challenging. So we talk about personalization and all these opportunities, but with that comes even more challenges with data privacy, data governance types of challenges. And with these models, these very complex, large models that we have, it's even more difficult. I think we're all familiar with issues of hallucinations and these other things that can happen. How do you manage all of that? How do you deal with those challenges as the technology is advancing as quickly as it is? So there's definitely a need for that. I think one of the things that I personally involved in is something called the Responsible AI Institute. And we spend time helping our members essentially figure out how to test some of their ideas in a space where we can help them figure out the safety issues that come with that. Basically, create like a test bed, create like a consortium in the industry, bring together the right players. So I think that's going to be needed to address some of these challenges because they're going to keep coming. The regulatory environment is changing rapidly in every geography around AI specifically. And I think we're going to need to kind of work together as an industry to sort of tackle some of those challenges.
One thing I would add, excellent comments, is that make sure that you pick the right starting point, right? Mm-hmm. The field is moving so fast, so whatever starting point you choose might be outdated in the next 6 to 12 months. I think that kind of clarity in terms of your technology roadmap is absolutely key. Like there's so many foundational models and so much new development even week on week. So it can be quite stressful to make sure that you have the right platform to build on top of.
Yep.
Absolutely, very well said. As kind of wrapping thoughts, what does success look like as you are, again, at the helm of this seat? And how do you measure it?
Yeah, I think, you can only improve what you can measure. So I guess a lot of KPIs to track. One important KPI that we track at Rakuten Mobile is the time it takes for a model to get into a production simply. And then, it's not just about like a POC or something on paper, but rather to make it production grade. So it should be forward compatible, backward compatible with the new releases of the software, and then the whole CI/CD approach, because you can't just deploy something on production. It's like a nuclear button. It can destroy the network if gone wrong. So having the right barriers and a CI/CD process around the CI models management, MLOps, is also very important.
I'm in sales, so I'll keep this very simple. So for me and for the partners that I discussed with, it's really about TCO, right? So what was the value of the new use case you created? Like what was the economic value of that or the process improvement? So I think it's very important. Yeah. Whatever you do, you have clarity on like what are the numbers, what are you trying to accomplish, and then you can walk back from there and everything else makes sense.
Yeah, I would just add really quickly, I mean, we take kind of a goal-based approach is how we think about it. What is the goal we're trying to achieve with the AI system? What are the KPIs we're going to have to measure that? Put that in place first before you even build anything, and use that as a way to continue to refine and track and monitor the system. I think these are all very important principles. It doesn't change with generative AI or any of these new technologies. I think it's the same. Yeah. But without that machinery in place, I think you have a very hard time proving value in these systems.
Well said.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I know we're at time, so I really appreciate your thoughts and perspectives here on this very rich discussion. Thank you all.
Thank you for the
And
opportunity.
please give a big round of applause for our panelists today.
Qualcomm is continually driving advances in AI. That journey started in the smartphone, but now goes so much further. Welcome to the edge of possible.